presenting Channeling Erik's Hour of Enlightenment.
Hello, everybody, and thank you, Live Paranormal, for letting us play our Erik intro, which is very generous of you. So glad that the show is going on now because we missed last week, but that's okay because we're going to make up for it this time. So for all of you guys who are new to our program, Spirit Guide Erik Medhus is my 20-year-old son who died a few years ago, and now he's a spirit guide, and he wants to help so many people all over the world navigate through life, which can be very difficult. And he uses mainly the blog Channeling Erik as a platform. This radio show, we just want to basically spread that Erik wisdom even further. And we'll do that with the help of his spirit translator, Kim Babcock. Kim, would you like to share something about yourself?
Hello, sure, of course. You guys know I've been working with Erik for over a year now to just kind of give voice to him to share what he needs to share. And this kid never ceases to amaze me. You know, I've been working as a medium for 6 to 7 years, and just recently started working with Erik about a year and a half ago. And this kid still finds ways to move me and leave me speechless and awe-inspired. And that's hard to do. I'm not someone who's usually speechless, but he still keeps me interested through curiosity. The things that he shares, the perspectives that he gives you guys to help you guys move forward in life and navigate through problems, through hard times, and through the shit that life can throw at us. He never ceases to amaze me with the tactics, with the plans, the strategies that he gives you guys. You know, try this, try that. And each and every time he makes sure to attune specifically to who he's talking to before he even gives advice. And that's what's so unique about Erik, is that he connects to you before he gives that advice. And when he does, it's pretty powerful, and it's unlike anything I've ever heard or read anywhere when we talk about metaphysics and quantum physics. So I'm absolutely honored and humbled to be a voice for him. It's a pleasure each and every time.
And we're very excited that Kim is going to host a Channeling Erik event in Erik's hometown, my hometown, Houston, H-Town. And it's going to be very special because depending on how many people attend, it'll be in Erik's childhood home, the place where we now live. And so you'll be able to get a feel for where he grew up. We'll be able to go to his bedroom and take videos or photos of his orb. And it's amazing because you can say, Erik, show us some love, and his orb will turn pink. It's incredible. We'll be able to take a pilgrimage to his final resting place where his body is, but not him, obviously. So it's going to be very, very special. It's going to be January the weekend of the 20th of January. Please check out the website, channelingerikmediums.com, and book your tickets before it gets too booked up. Otherwise, you will not have a spot. Anything else you want to say, Kim, before we go on?
That's right, guys. I just encourage you to keep your hearts and your minds open to this event. The reason why you guys should know, we moved it. It was going to be in Austin, but we decided to move it to Houston to really bring Erik's story and his life full circle. You guys have read about Erik in the books, and you've heard and you've connected to him in so many ways. But the whole essence of this tour, this blog, and what Erik teaches you, we want to bring it back to reminding you guys that this is a real story, and Erik went through these real struggles, and so does his family. And that's why we kind of thought it would be perfect to bring back to his hometown so that you can feel that too, and you can feel that and see that through seeing his home and his final resting place. So I think it's going to be really powerful. I think it's going to be incredibly special to be a part of this. It'll be unique from any of the others. It's going to be one of its own. So I look so forward to it, and I hope you guys will join us.
Yeah, I do want people to know that he isn't just a spirit guide. Erik is a son. He's a brother. He was a human for quite some time on this, well, not long enough time on this earthly plane. And, what we went through was a horrible tragedy. And I just don't want people to forget that,
Exactly. And I think too, Erik, in the way that he shares himself and his family, and the way that you guys share, it puts such a personal touch to it, where so many people can relate to Erik and what you guys have gone through. And I think actually being invited into his home that he grew up in, and that you guys experienced this, is really going to help other people to be able to relate to, and find strength in their own ability to cope through the ways that you're so bravely opening your home up to the blog members to come in and see where all of this happened. I think just that gesture in itself shows your strength, Elisa, your family's strength, and I think that is going to help people cope with what they're going through, and help them dig deeper and find places of strength too that they probably didn't know they had before.
Oh, I hope so. Erik, how are you, my sweetie? I love you.
He's like mocking you. He's like, "What's up, my sweetie? I love you too."
Oh God, he does that all the time. Well, we're going to do the part 2 of our topic on fear. You said a whole bunch on the last radio show that we had, but there was more to be said, and I'd like you to take over from this point, if you don't mind, Erik. My little pumpkin.
He went. He's
Aww.
like he says there's so much I want to talk about when we address fear, and he gets like that passionate whispery tone in his voice. Okay. He says the reason why he wants to spend so much time on this is because so many people exist in this state of mind and don't even realize it, Mom. He says, and a lot of people that exist in fear are in denial. They'll tell you that they're not acting in fear. They're just preparing. They're, I'm not scared. I'm just prepared.
They're preppers.
Yeah, yep, that's exactly what he's starting to talk about. So when you talk, when we do even talk about preppers, he says they're preparing for failure. They're preparing, maybe not out of fear, but they're preparing. But there's so much that goes into this that he wants to talk about. He opened his arms up really wide, and he showed me this timeline. So what he's trying to say is he wants to talk about like the concept of time and how it relates to fear. And okay. Oh, he says I want to talk about why, if we choose to look at time, how that instills fear. And this is kind of like something new that he's been talking to me about just in the last week or so. Just with myself as I get overwhelmed, and other people that ask their questions at these events, he'll tell them, your fear comes from wanting control. Wanting that control is rooted in, the uncertainty. I'm uncertain about it, so it feels better to have control. It feels safe. If I think I have control, then I feel safe, and then I feel comfortable. But even in that, he says, it's not accepting yourself or the circumstances that you're in. Rather, it's trying to predetermine like an outcome of something, therefore alluding to the future or thinking about or trying to be somewhere that you can't be, basically, in the future, or even over-identifying with the past. He kind of gets, that's funny. When he was saying over-identify with the past, he got this really gross tone. He's like, oh, fuck that. Like, he just got that real mumbly sound in his mouth. But he says, no matter what it is that you're afraid of, he goes, for Kim, her biggest fear is the dark, which is true. Of all the fears one could have, I'm afraid of the dark. I don't know why. I just can't see anything in the dark, and I don't like it. But
I don't either. I don't like, thinking about what could be under my bed. And to this day, I put all my covers around my neck because I'm afraid a vampire will bite my neck. It's like they can't, they really can't. Those fangs can't penetrate, like Egyptian cotton or wamsutta or whatever. Really?
Isn't it funny where your mind goes? Yeah.
It's so stupid. But go ahead.
Yeah, I told him. No, you're fine. I told him, I said, well, why? I don't even know why I'm afraid of the dark. And he's like, you're not. It's where your mind goes when you're in that space. Like all the what ifs, what you begin to entertain. You begin to entertain, well, this could happen, that could happen. But if you turn the lights on, and then all of a sudden you feel like you're in control because you can see, so you stop that thought process. He says, it's an illusion. It's like you begin to fall into your own thoughts, your own patterns of thoughts, and when you believe those thoughts, that's when fear arises. So he wants to get back to talking about, like, no matter what you're afraid of, if you're afraid of losing someone, if you're afraid of hurting yourself, if you're afraid of, you can't pay your bills, he says, what's the common denominator in all of that? Afraid of losing someone, afraid you can't pay your bills next month. Exactly. He's like, you're asking
Do I get a star? Do I get a little sticker?
You get a sticker, Mom. He's like, you get a sticker. He's like, just one, though. I'm pretty greedy with my stickers. But he says, he says, fear arises when you ask yourself to be somewhere that you really can't be. He says, and he kind of talks about this a lot at these events too, like your body can only be here and now, and when you try to take your mind and your spirit somewhere else, your body can't go. You got to keep all that shit on the same page, mind, body, and spirit, he says. And so when you begin to take your thoughts and your emotional self and try to be somewhere else, that's when fear arises. Fear arises because the body can't go too. He's like, well, unless you're a magician, but we're not going to get into that. But he's just joking. Yeah. But he says, and then anxiety is believing your fears, he says. And, when you begin to, it's like you fall into those illusions. You can't experience any of that ever. It's like a hamster on a wheel, Mom. It's always going to be the what-ifs and the uncertainties. And then he's kind of laughing almost in this state of like, how you would see like a mad scientist like laughing in a way where you're kind of like, dude, are you okay? Like, yeah, like, are you okay? Chill out. Like he's laughing like that, and he says, to even think or believe that you have control over anything anyway is that too is an illusion. You don't have control, and as soon as you try to have control, you experience being out of control. And then again, that's where fear comes in. Fear arises. Oh no, I feel like I'm not in control. Like Kim when she's in the dark. He says she can't control anything because she can't see it. So it's a matter of accepting what you have right now, because that's all you're ever going to have. And as soon as you can't do that, associated with the self-awareness in the now moment, that's when fear is born. But then he's talking about, like, he says, this gets into talking about ego and how ego can hide itself, Mom, and it's actually really sad, he says. Ego can hide itself, and when people don't, he's talking about people being in denial, whether they're in fear or acting in ego. Ego continually needs something to live, whereas just your true self, you don't need anything to continually feed your source, your energy, your awareness. But if you're acting in ego always needs the past to have identity or a life or existence.
What about the future? Does the ego need the future? Like concerns about the future, etc.?
Yep, exactly. Ego.
So anything but the now. Anything but the present moment.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. Ego can't associate with right now, Mom, because it's not real. It's an illusion. And the only thing that is real is right now. He's laughing at me. He goes, "It sounds like you said Israel, like the country." But I meant is real. He's like pointing at me and laughing. But as soon as you find yourself uncomfortable with being with yourself right now, quietly, oh man, he's getting real trippy, talking about, time and space, and that's where fear is. If it's not in the now, it's fear. God, that's so interesting. So, okay. And then, so I was getting ready to say, okay, so, well, what about a relationship? What if I'm afraid a relationship won't work out? Then how does that? And, it's the same thing. It's like, well, you're going into the future, and that's why there's fear. He says, but Mom, fear can push us into that place of ego where we believe our fears. Some people, Mom, become addicted to their fears, and that's when you really see, like, illness come in.
I can imagine.
Yeah, because then it's like they lose sense of, like, self-awareness, he says, and through when you like step into your own fear and you believe it, you act upon it. All right. He wants me to just share this briefly, and I will. So my husband,
he's making you pull one of your stories out of your hat. Oh boy.
He does, and he does this all the time. It's funny, but my husband is somebody who I quit trying a long time ago to get him to that place of letting go of fear, because that has to be self-realized at some point. But he resides in fear. He's always preparing for the worst. I got my plan B.
My husband's the same way. My husband's the same way. He wants to control everything because he thinks people are, people he loves are not smart enough to protect themselves, so he has to control their welfare, etc.
Yeah, and he, like, even if we go somewhere, he's like, okay, there's the exit, just in case, someone comes in here and shoots up the place. Like, he's always in fear. And it's even like, and this, I don't know how this relates, but Erik wants me to share this example. It's even like if you're going to go to the grocery store, hey, remind me to get mustard. Well, you're already putting it out there that you're going to forget, so you're already predetermining that experience, know. Mm-hmm. So, preparing for the fear of forgetting, or the fear of failure, the fear of, some unwelcome experience, or, he says, when you begin to plan for that, and you're in that state of mind, of course that's what you manifest, that's what you experience, but he says you man, he's using some pretty strong tones in his voice. You can't be both.
Go for it.
He says you can't be both. You can't be now. You can't be love, and you can't be fear right now. Because if you are truly just with yourself presently, and you forget about the concept of time, and then you have to force yourself to let go of the belief that you have control, and then therefore naturally falling into a place of accepting what is as it is. So there can't be a fear associated with that, Mom.
So that is the power of being in the now. You cannot fear. There's no space for fear when you're in the now. Is that what you're saying?
He says, yeah, that's right, Mom. If you're in fear, you're not present with yourself. You're not right here, right now. And love cannot be in the same space as fear. Like, love cannot completely, you can't be whole in love if you also have fear. It's one or the other, Mom. He says, but people often deny, oh, I'm not afraid, I'm just prepared. So it's like he calls them like they're not conscious to their own perspectives. They don't even see it. It's like you look so hard for something, but it's right in front of you, but you don't see it because you're looking so damn hard for it, he says, that it becomes invisible. So,
well, before we take callers, is there any practical advice you can give people to surmount this obstacle?
Yeah, that's what he was just going to start talking about. If you find yourself like stricken with fear, which there's definitely been times where I'm like, oh my God, like when I got lost hiking the other day, how am I going to get out of this? You know, it was really scary. At that moment, and this is what he's saying, is you have to let go of the illusion of being in control or having control. You have to accept what is. When you can just let go of that illusion of being in control and accepting what is, you can help talk yourself. He goes, you could trust me, you can talk yourself out of any kind of fear. But you have to work on accepting. You know, it's what he's referring to is I was hiking up on Devil's Bridge. I got lost, got off the trail, hiked some wicked narrow between these rocks, and got to the top and was like, yeah, this is not the trail. How the hell am I going to get down? Nobody could see me. I was by myself. And so I literally started to freak out for a minute because it was all loose rock. And some lady told me,
girl,
she's
you
like,
should never hike alone.
I know. Some lady was like, yep. She's like, that's the trail. So I get up there, and I'm like, I start to panic. I'm like, well, okay, panicking isn't going to get me anywhere. So I actually started to talk to Erik, and I actually, believe it or not, began to talk to the canyons, the rocks. And I was like giving, gratitude and like, help me find, each foot position, hand position to get out of here, to get down. And what I did was I gave up control. I just let something bigger than myself take over. And he goes, talk about bigger than you. He's like tapping on his chest, saying that he's bigger than me. So he sort of helped in that situation. But I let go of control. I let go of being in control of a situation, because in that moment when I thought I was in control, I panicked because I didn't know what to do. When I let go of being in control, I trusted something bigger than myself, and fear sort of had no more place. I just accepted where I was. I was, basically up a creek without a paddle. But, I let go of that and was able to talk myself out of it, out of that panic state. So Erik says when you find yourself, burdened with fear, if it's, that the past is going to repeat itself, or you're afraid of someone or something, first, let go of the responsibility of being in control of it, because when we own that responsibility, that's when we panic or become fear-stricken. When we don't take responsibility and don't hold ourselves against it, so to speak, he says, that's when we kind of, it's like we let ourselves off the hook. He says, you let yourself off the hook. You're not in control. I think that's hugely what it boils down to. He says, you're not in control. Control is an illusion.
It's like what I understand that the people in AA talk about is let go and let God. So I guess that's it. Erik, are you ready to take some callers?
He says, absolutely, Mom. And that's what he's talking about. There has to come a point if you're that fear-stricken where you rely on something bigger than yourself to get you through. You have to say yes to that. Like you have to let go and let God, basically. Say yes to something bigger than you.
So you can ask for the help of your guides, for Erik, of God Source, etc. All right, that sounds awesome. I want to also let everybody know that I'm very grateful to liveparanormal.com for giving us this venue to do what we're doing, and we couldn't do it without them. I am going to take the first caller, and this person is from the, come on, click on the button better, Elisa. Come on, you can aim, you can do it. 602 area code. Hi, welcome to the show.
Hi.
And let me remind everybody, I almost forgot, that we're going to try to keep it to one question per person so we can get more callers to have their chance. But anyway, hello, 602 area code. What's your first name?
Okay. And I have a real easy one, I hope. I make it simple. I just want to know my spirit guide's name and also thank them for having my back all this time.
Oh, how sweet.
That is
and
sweet.
Say hi to Eric.
Erik says he's like talking with a real wispy. His S's are really wispy. He's like, okay, I'll keep it real simple. He's just bringing forward one guide. The name is Ashtin, like Ashton, but it feels female. The energy feels female. Anytime I have him bring forward someone's guide or connect me to their guide, I also have them, try to connect me to the name and the purpose, why this guide is connected to you. This is more, Ashton is more of a place for you to find and feel connection to your higher self, to your emotional self, because there's a lot of power in your emotional self through your heart center. So sometimes guides come in for strength, he says, for guidance, direction when you feel lost, when you need to be grounded. But I feel like this is more of a connection to your intuitive self, to your heart center, because that's where your highest truth is. And I think that's what Ashton helps you stay aligned with.
Good. Now I can
Fascinating.
have a name to talk to every day. So thank you very much, and I appreciate all of this. And also, one more, thank you. I've healed from my anger from my parents, and Erik, and you guys have a lot to do with that. And I thought I was going to hold on to that till I died, and I'm just so appreciative that I've let that go. So thank you so much.
That's so awesome. I'm still working on that, girl. I am still working on that.
I can tell by what you say in your daily log. I had a similar life, and I got to tell you, it is awesome to let it go. So,
I know. I'm working on it. I really am, with meditation and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, let's go on to the next one. We have somebody from the, every time I click on the button, I just have to do it twice, I guess. 904 area code. Hi there.
Mama Medhus and Kim and Erik. This is Marvin from Florida. It's kind of funny that I got in on part 2. I called a couple weeks ago.
What's up, Marvin? How are you?
How are you doing?
Pretty good. Wow. Something told me I was going to get through again. That's wow. Okay. So
awesome.
Wow. I'm just really blown away right now. So I had a question from the last time I called in. I got some feedback from my higher self, and I kind of thought about it a little deeper from the initial feedback you gave me, Kim. Mainly about like how you were saying about I was going to be a leadership over I guess it was like specialized towards males or male energy, I guess.
Oh, I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, and so I was looking at it deeper, and I kind of asked myself. After I asked that question, I asked another question in my head, and I kind of got the answer back in the way I kind of asked it, and I just kind of wanted to make sure I didn't pick up something that wasn't put down. So I was kind of just wondering if I can just get like some, really just some guidance on my relationship, and like kind of that, that's that's what I was kind of asking about too, as like a part 2 question to that.
Sure. So you're more asking Erik about guidance for in terms of the relationship, like a relationship in your life?
Correct. Yes. Erik and my higher self, if I'm there again.
He says, well, it's one and the same, because Erik, whenever people ask questions, he accesses sort of your higher self to give you that guidance. Erik is giving a lot, when he's describing relationship status for you, he's giving a lot of energy that shows and displays movement. So I don't know if you're in a relationship right now, but he's showing a lot of change and movement within yourself. He's actually showing you growing and becoming more confident and able to trust yourself in a relationship. So I wouldn't be surprised if you are in a relationship, if things move quickly, or if you're not in a relationship, if you find one quickly and move into it quickly, because Erik is showing a lot of fast movement, fast energy when it comes to this aspect of your life. Because I feel like you're growing in the area of self-trust and confidence, and when you're able to stand solid on that grounds, then when you move into a relationship, it seems like it happens really easily and quickly. So,
and I guess that's where, because I'm honestly kind of in a marriage already, and that's where, okay. So I guess I'm already kind of in like I can't be any more than the relationship as a marriage, so that's why I was like looking for guidance on that.
Sure. I wouldn't be surprised.
Do you want to stay in that marriage? Is that a marriage you want to stay in, or are you looking for something else?
Well, and that's
or you don't have to stay.
Yeah, no, and that's what I'm just looking on guidance for, because I'm just just a lot of very confused on a lot of items. So that's I'm just looking on guidance on where I feel like I have a clear path just because of all the all the stuff I've realized. So I just want to get that
He says that you've
on that, I guess.
He says that you've kind of grown in the area of personal confidence, and through that personal confidence, you're going to see change in the aspect of your life. When we're talking about personal, like relationship status, you're going to see a lot of change, but it feels like good change. It feels like it's change that honors your true happy self, what makes you happy. But I think it's going to be quick moving. It feels very quick, and he kind of bounces his eyebrows, and he's asking you if you're ready. Like when he bounces his eyebrows, he kind of like, I know this is going to sound really strange, but he's like moving his shoulders in a way where he's like flirting with you, but he's like, you ready? You ready for this change? So he just makes me feel like you're in a place where you're more confident, you're more sure of yourself and what you want. So I think that's what's going to contribute to this, these changes and the swiftness of these changes. So.
Well, I hope that helps you. Does that help you?
It's something I'll definitely reflect on, and I really appreciate the time that you guys took to answer my question.
Oh, sure.
You bet. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. I've got one from the 512 area code. That's probably Austin or thereabouts.
Oh, cool.
Hi, how are you
Austin.
doing? 512 area code. Where are you calling from?
Austin.
Awesome.
I knew it. How are you doing? What's your first name?
This is Billy. I actually emailed you last night. Billy.
Oh, okay. Go for it.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm so excited. Thank you guys for doing this.
Sure.
My question for Erik, I'm kind of trying to develop clairaudience. I have an aunt who's a medium, and she told me that I have this ability, and ever since then, I've been hearing like constant high-pitched tones in my ears, and kind of trying to work on it. But I wanted to know if Erik, what he thinks would be most helpful for me, like in everyday life, to kind of work on that.
Sure.
Great question. What do you think, Erik?
He says, you're pretty cute.
Aww.
When you say, like, I kind of think I have, he's like, isn't she cute? How, like, gentle she is. He says to tell you, if there's one thing he's like, and he's been kind of ranting and raving about this lately, if there's one thing I can tell you, it's to know that this is who you were first. We all were clairaudience, clairvoyance, before, taking on our human physical form. And kind of almost makes it a burden where he says, like, having to listen through our human ears. So he says to tell you that your family didn't tell you anything that you didn't already know, but it was a matter of having it validated. But now, he says, in working to develop yourself in this way, he says it's just like when Kim channels spirits, he's like, If she wants to talk to me, she puts her focus on me. If she wants to talk to someone else, she'll put her focus there. So the same thing with you. If you want to work through clairvoyance, have at it, he says, because it's there for you too. It's just a matter of where you put your focus. When you hear these high tones, it's becoming more aware of your surroundings through clairaudience. He's just being he's excited, but he's kind of being a smart aleck. He goes, have you ever heard of electromagnetic fields or like electromagnetic ranges? As that changes and as you heighten your awareness at the level of clairvoyance, that's what you'll experience. Like your physical ears are going to be tripping out. Like, what? He says. He's so goofy. So when you hear these rings or these high tones, this is you connecting to clairaudience consciously, being aware of it. But he says if I can encourage anything, and he has that like passionate whisper tone again. He says, just trust yourself what you hear. You don't have to go ask someone if they heard it too, or you don't have to have it recorded to know that you heard it. If you heard it, you heard it. Don't talk yourself out of it. Like, and he's getting real passionate about it. He's just encouraging you to trust what you hear. That's the hardest part, he says, because we're so used to.
What's the biggest practical advice do you have for her to develop her clairaudience? He said, Mom, just shifting your awareness. He says, I could tell her to meditate, to play certain tones of music or this or that. He says, but it's just shifting your awareness to listening beyond what the physical ears can pick up. It's like, it's like telepathic communication, Mom. Like that's what he's talking about. This is what I see when I talk to Erik. I feel more like we merge, and that's how I feel like I hear his thoughts rather than like waiting for him to tell me something. We just merge, and somehow I translate or channel the energy of the information that way. And you complete each other's sentences.
No, he's encouraging you to see yourself doing the same thing. Like if you want to channel a message for someone, merge with their energy first. If you got Rosy sitting in front of you, merge with Rosy and see who's connected to Rosy, because he's singing like that. Oh God, if the arm bone's connected to the,
Oh yeah, right.
Everything's connected, Mom. He says we all know that. So if you merge with Rosy, you're also merging with.
Well, how does she do that? How does she merge with Rosy?
He looked at me and he goes, he's such a cheeseball. He goes, this is why I love my mom so much. because
I'm difficult.
Because you ask those questions.
Inquiring minds want to know.
That curiosity.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah, this is where we get into being a sentient being, like feeling, listening in a clairaudient way, not with the human ears, listening through clairsentience, like through your sentience, through what you feel. It's a whole different way of listening. We're so used to putting our listening, associating it with our human ears, but now it's going to be more of like listening to everything around you. He goes, you think you could do that? So all it takes is trust. And when you really begin to trust what you hear, what you feel, what you sense, what you smell, what you see, you can pull in a lot of information. So it's one of those things that's hard to describe. It's hard to put your hands on and grasp a hold of, but it takes practice to really attune to it and align with it.
So does it help to does it help to sort of visualize your energy merging with Rosy's energy, for example?
He just kind of nods, a very strong yes nod. He's nodding his head yes. He just says for sure.
Okay, well I hope that helps you. Thanks for calling in.
It does. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
You bet. Anytime. All right, let's go on to, let me guess this one, 210. Is that from San Antonio?
Hello?
Hi there, how are you doing? Welcome to the show. Where are you from?
San Antonio. This is Mike from San Antonio, my wife and I.
I was right. San Antonio. We're going to get another sticker. Yay. How can we help you, baby?
Well, I am a big fan of Erik, and I just want to thank Erik for everything that he's done for me and my wife and my family. Thank you, Kim, for
I know
what you're
who
doing.
You are. Oh, I know who you are. I'm so glad you called. I think I do, anyway.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I texted you a couple of times, and well, my question is, my question is that I'm actually a teacher, and I'm seeing a lot of I'm just kind of a little upset with the system of how we educate our kids, and the emphasis on standardized testing, and just the whole evaluation system for both the students and the teacher. And
oh God, I agree.
I'm a little concerned. Of course, maybe it comes out of fear for my own well-being about just my profession. And the community that I teach it's low income, disadvantaged, and a lot of emotionally disturbed or issues that I encounter with students. So I guess I'm trying to find out what my higher self has for me, some advice for myself.
Sure.
And
sure, of course. There's a couple of things that I keep hearing, as you're talking. Some of it from Erik, some of it probably coming in from your higher self. Don't overwhelm yourself with. It's like wanting a change in such a way, but every time you feel it, envision it, or even desire it, it's like you become overwhelmed, and then a sense of like defeat kind of comes over you. So your higher self is encouraging you to focus on what you can do, not what you can't do, or don't focus on how your hands are tied, because as you do, I feel like it's pulling you into this place of like, I feel defeated. I feel like I don't even have any slack to start doing what I want to or what I hope to see. So focus on what you can do, first of all.
So what can he do? What can he do then? Sorry to interrupt, but I don't want to forget this.
No, that's okay. They're both, Erik and your higher self are both encouraging you, first of all, whatever changes you're wanting to impose or whatever, put yourself on the receiving end. And how would you want to receive those changes? Like how even the proposal of, if you're going to totally like change things up in the classroom or the way that things are done in that school system. I don't know what level you have an effect on the community, but first of all, put yourself on the receiving end. How would you want that information proposed to you, taught to you, or given to you? And let that bring you new perspective as far as like shaping a plan. I know that might sound strange, but your higher self is encouraging you to shape a plan. But if you focus on the areas in which you feel hopeless or like your hands are tied, it's like you'll continually be stuck in that state of feeling defeated. But understand, at the level of where you are and what you are, a teacher, you have a lot of power in that position, your higher self says. So in that position, you can be, I know this might sound cheesy, but it's verbatim what your higher self is saying, you can be the change, you can lead that ripple effect. You can be the one that starts that whole ripple effect.
It's okay to have a cheesy higher self. That's fine. I probably have one too.
It's good. Mm-hmm. But your higher self is saying to understand that you still have a lot of power, especially with having the perspective that you do, because I feel like you at a personal level at home have gone through a lot of changes, and I feel like you're going through this sense of like seeing things for what they really are, like awakening to truth. And when you do, it's enlightening, but it's also can feel really destructive, because then you really see truth for what it is, and can feel devastating in some situations. So when you have that insight and that perspective, how would you want to receive that new insight as your own student? So your higher self is encouraging you to kind of put yourself on the other end and see, so what ways would you kind of impart those changes? But it's...
for some reason, I feel like he needs more time with Erik than maybe a
I
session
agree.
with you or one of the other mediums. This is something big, I feel.
Right,
and
because
Erik has a lot more to tell you.
He does, because he's talking about, like, you at a personal level needing to be interactive, like needing to be more interactive with people and seeing, like, that the effects of what you do. Like, kind of like biofeedback, like where you're continually changing what you do because of the feedback that you're getting. And so you need that interaction too, because you've seen it at the personal level. Now you're ready to take it to a much bigger level. But you almost feel like, I don't even know where to start. So it's like feeling defeated before you even get started. So now they're just...
Well, just the whole education system that we have, at least here in Texas, it's just so unfair. I mean, to kids and to the teachers, and
I know.
the parents most of the time don't even know what's going on in the classroom. And so we have students sitting in desks 8 hours, 7 hours throughout the day, and all we're doing is teaching them how to take a test. And we don't really think we're teaching them to particularly think, but there's no creativity. And
he says you're teaching them how to rely on something other than their self, whether it's the testing, the books, the materials. It's very much an outside, creating creatures that are dependent outwardly instead of on the inside, depending on themselves.
Well, to wrap it up, I really think that you need to talk to Erik, for a full hour. I mean, this seems big, and it seems like you can do something to help. Our Texas schools. I'm a Texan, and if Kim is all booked up, there's others that you can go to. I have under favorites my links list of the different mediums that I really like, and of course Kim is my particular favorite. But I want you to consider doing that. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Dr.
Yeah, I think it'll help. But thanks so much for calling in, and God bless him for still thinking about that and considering, because there's so many
for caring.
Yeah, there's so many that just go through the motions, and
I know.
It's really inspiring to see those that are still refreshed with new ways to do things, and I just love that. I love those innovative people.
Me too. Now I think I have one time to have one more caller, but it has to be a pretty, brief question, because, I don't want to run into the other show that follows me. So, hi, 435 area code. Where are you calling from?
Utah.
Awesome.
Hi. Hi there.
Hi.
Do you have something brief for Erik?
Yeah, I have several, but I'll start with one that I think's brief. My husband's grandpa kind of unexpectedly passed away, and he just has kind of needed some, I'm going to get upset, just some healing. Maybe I was wondering if we could get a message for my husband from his grandpa, just to kind of help him.
Okay, what is your husband's first name?
Michael.
And his grandfather's first name?
Daryl.
Okay. All right. Generally, we don't do this over the air because it is so time-consuming, but I'll see what Erik can help us make happen here. You know what? It's the first thing that I feel and I pick up on is that between the two, it seems like, especially on your husband's end, he's carrying guilt associated with, I don't know if they had words before passing or weren't on the same page emotionally before he lost his grandfather, but it's like he's carrying guilt about not having closure with him before the passing, though, not because of the passing, but before the passing. It's like they weren't on the same page, or there's some sort of space or distance between the two of them before he passed. And it seems like there's a lot of heavy emotions carried by your husband in accordance to that. So with Erik, Erik is the one facilitating this information. So with him bringing this through, what he is encouraging for your husband is to, he says to remind your husband that there's no regrets. There's only experience. And as long as you can learn from, and again he's talking to your husband, as long as you can learn from the experience, then you're contributing not only to yourself, your health, but to the collective consciousness, the collective psyche of mankind. So this is about your husband forgiving himself. I'm not sure what happened between the two of them.
Does Daryl have a message? Can Erik relay some sort of message from Daryl to your husband, to her husband?
He just says, Mom, it's the same thing. It's about forgiveness, like self-forgiveness. So if it were, from Erik or from Daryl, it's the same thing. Erik says it's about self-forgiveness, because it's like he's punishing himself for carrying guilt, like associated with the time before the passing, though.
So is Daryl saying, all is forgiven? Forgive yourself?
Yeah, forgive yourself. Not only all is forgiven, but forgive yourself, because it feels more like he's carrying guilt associated with the way things were before he passed. So tell him to forgive himself. But there's something about, like, I don't know if they didn't speak or he said something that he regrets, but it has to do with speaking, because he's giving me all this verbal energy that's associated with his regrets. So encourage him.
Well, I hope that helps. We've run out of time. I'm going to run into the other show. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for calling from Utah. And I love you guys. We'll see you next Thursday, where we will have our favorite motivational speaker and wrestler, Jamin Olivencia, and he will talk about laziness and procrastination. So it should be really awesome. You guys, I really want you to book your ticket for the Houston component of the tour, because I want you to be in my home. And I want you to see where Erik lived, where he took his life, where his final resting place is. It's going to be absolutely touching
incredible
and memorable. So
yeah, absolutely.
Check it out and book before we're all booked up. All right. Thank you,
That's
Kim.
right.
Thank you, Erik. I love you so much.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. We will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.